Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Smith, you can stay up here. And I invite Councillor Babakowicz to also come up. We will now have the question and answer period. So how this will work is councillors, you have the opportunity to ask a question. A total of 2 questions will be asked or can be asked to nominees. Each of you will have the opportunity to respond and ensuring that you don't go beyond a maximum of 3 minutes per answer. I will call on you when it is your opportunity to answer the question. Okay, so councillors, and are there any questions for the nominees? President Collegian?
Thanks. Okay, my question is, what do you think your responsibility would be as chair? So like what would an average meeting / day / what do you think your responsibility mostly kind of encaptures?
Councillor Babakowicz, you now have the opportunity to respond.
Thank you very much for the question. For takes on responsibilities, I find the responsibilities of being the head chair is to make sure that first off, you organize meetings always before the USC meetings actually occur, so we actually stay on top of the agenda and how we move forward as a committee, but also as well as a council. I also like to ensure, kind of like I mentioned, unfortunately, as my speech was briefly cut off, but how we should also make it a very safe environment for people to ask questions, because as it's we're still a learning experience to kind of go through everything. I'm always trying to be open as best as possible for anyone who may seem concerned or have questions or anything of the such. And yeah, I intend to hopefully keep meetings as short as possible. However, if it requires more time, I'll always be transparent as best as I can with everyone. So yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. We will now hear from Councillor Malabanan. I apologize to interrupt you, Councillor. The audio was not coming through.
All right, sorry. Just let me know when you guys are good.
Yes, you are good. No, the community room is muted.
The audio on his Zoom is coming from your laptop. Did you mute the Zoom call on your end there?
Yes.
On your laptop.
Okay, Councillor. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, you guys good?
Yes, you can please move
Perfect.
forward.
All right. Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Emily, for the question. And I know that governance and finance works with VP Student Services, so Daniel on that. But being a chair, just setting the meeting dates, meeting times, and just really working with your committee to see what policies are up for change. I know that some of the things that we do monitor the annual budget, and so I think that that's really just collaborating with the entire committee. And so looking at which policies related to finance, operations, any of those need changes, and just looking at the reports as well from club's governance. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Smith, you now have the opportunity to respond.
Thank you for the question. Okay, so I feel like a lot of, kind of echoing what the other people were saying, a lot of the responsibility is just like engaging with the material. But I feel like specifically as chair, in addition to just being like staying on top of your work, doing the readings before the lecture, if you will, and like keeping on top of what you actually have to know, being the chair is specifically the leadership position where you're kind of setting the vibe of the committee. So essentially, this is why I'm talking so much about being engaging and being fun and being responsive and that kind of thing, and being able to make people like not necessarily like enjoy coming to meetings and have a good time and feel like they're actually doing something. And I also feel like, in addition to that, I've learned actually yesterday that Emily, you're the one that I would be working with as chair, so it would kind of be almost like a co-chairing situation. And so if I am elected chair, then I will be very careful to be reaching out to you and be really responsive, and being able to work with everyone in partnership, and also just taking this as like a learning opportunity, being open to the fact that like if I am communicating with the people in my committee and if I'm communicating with Emily and everyone else that I'm having to work with, then I'll be learning how to be a better chair and progressing through that like as we work together on committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillors on the floor, do any of you have another question to ask the nominees? Okay, let the record reflect that there are no further questions. Thank you, councillors. You may go back to your seats. Okay, we will now move on to the University Affairs Standing Committee Chair nominees, starting with Councillor Ahmed.
Okay, I think you can hear me. First of all, everybody, I want to apologize that I couldn't be there at the retreat. It looks like an amazing time, but I'm currently up in Pakistan visiting my family. I also want to say sorry for having my camera off. My Wi-Fi is in and out. Just imagine a really handsome individual, and you'll probably be about right. So when I asked myself, why do I want to be chair of University Affairs? I thought back to my time at Western. This university has helped shape so much about me, and the work towards this has been done in the background by University Affairs. It's something that I now want to contribute towards. Look, I'm new to council. I still can't say I fully understand when I'm supposed to interrupt the speaker or not, but what I can say is I'm committed and determined to making a lasting difference while I'm here. Being a new councillor has also given me the opportunity with a fresh set of eyes to look at what's been done in the past and how we can improve in the future. Over the last few years, I've had the honor of being a lead SOF at Soggy Maitland Hall. This experience has been invaluable in helping me meet people that come from diverse backgrounds, that have given me insights about what a strong University Affairs portfolio could accomplish. Within this role, I have directly worked towards creating lasting impacts through student experience. Furthermore, I work in a brand consulting role for the London Knights. This role involves working with various stakeholders to write policy that is inclusive, uplifting, and helps to create a stronger community while reviewing and creating ideas for events that create a strong community impact, similar to the UA portfolio. It has also helped me become creative and find a more firm voice. I'm willing to push for what the community wants from its UA community while also having strong communication with all stakeholders. I'm going to be upfront. I know Ivy doesn't get the best rep, and honestly, we deserve it. But having been a student on both main campus and Ivy has also shown me the impact of being on and off main campus and given me a profound understanding on the value that our entire university community brings together, whether it's King's, Huron, the Berkshire Legacy Club, or Ivy, or main campus. I will work towards strengthening our bond and delivering the best results for everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We will now hear from Councillor Lee, if you would like to come up to give your addressment.
Just gonna get settled here. Hi everyone. For those of you here in person, I hope your backs are good after those thin blue mattresses at Oak Hall. And if you're joining online, all I can say is you're very, very lucky. I ran for council on a platform of student experience, wellness, and safety. I feel like there is no better position to help facilitate that than chair of the UA committee. I am also new to council, but since joining council, I've had a tremendous opportunities to learn. I've had privileges of learning of even more issues from talking with Mari, of things like Free the Dot, food waste. I've been able to talk with people who have come before me to learn more about what the chair does, and I'm more excited than ever for the opportunity to help work towards that change. I want to talk a little bit about myself. Last year, I was a member of the Social Science Student Council, where I was able to rotate through various portfolios, and I took a particular liking to advocacy. Under my VP, I was able to learn more about how to create effective change for students. We worked to increase awareness of naloxone to help address crucial issues in the London community, things about EpiPens, and we gave exam wellness kits to truly help improve experiences for students. I've been working in various forms of student politics since I was 14, which when I say out loud kind of makes me sound a little bit like, shouldn't you have been outside? But all I can say is that means that I have a wealth of experience working in administrative scenarios, solving problems, and working with others. I know how to lead hard conversations. I've worked with differing opinions, and I really believe that I can lead a group of people to work well together. I'm confident that as chair of the UA committee, I can lead the committee, keep us on track towards our collective goals, and really help better the student experience, which is what we're all here for. And just because I'm a sucker for a good rhyme, let Councillor Lee lead the UA committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. You can stay up here. We will now hear from Council if there are any questions to ask the nominees. Okay, let the record reflect that there are no questions for the nominees. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you.
Councillors, you may now proceed to Echo 360 to vote on the chair nominees. A reminder that it is not a requirement to give an addressment to council to be voted in to the chair position. Yes, Councillor Ridley.
I just want to verify on Echo 360 or the Google form that was sent in the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Ridley. It is the Google form sent in the agenda. My apologies. Council, we'll give about 30 more seconds to complete your votes.
Mateen?
Yes, Councillor Malabanan.
Yeah, just raising a point of personal privilege. I'm proxying for Chloe. How would I go vote for her?
If one moment, Councillor, I'll get back to you in a second.
Sounds good.
I'm also proxying. I'm experiencing the same thing. I'm able to log in for 360, just not the Google form.
If you, okay, I can send. Okay, if you are proxying for a member of, if you do not already have a voting right on council, then it should be fine. And I'm just gonna get back to you guys, and I'll send that form to you. Okay, council, we're just gonna motion to recess for 1 minute so that we can figure out an administrative thing. Henry, I've sent you the Google form so you can move forward with voting. Councillor Malabanan, I will still get back to you. Okay, welcome back everyone. We will resume the meeting from where we left off, which was on motion 2. So before we move on to our next call for action, just a couple reminders for council. When you wish to speak, please repeat your own name first before giving your comment. So for example, if I was calling on President Collegian, President Collegian should say President Collegian and then move forward with what she's saying. And then another reminder is that when you're voting on Echo 360, what you see on Echo 360 may not necessarily be the up-to-date thing that you are voting on. You are voting on the agenda. So because once we start the meeting and we start the session with Echo 360, it cannot be edited. So just make sure that when you are voting, you are referencing the agenda as the thing that you are voting on, not necessarily what shows up on Echo 360. Are there any questions, comments, concerns about this? Wonderful. We will now move on to motion number 3, which is the motion to ratify Joyce Liu as a board of director. Are there any points of debate at this time? Okay. And I should have asked this first. Do we have a mover for this motion? Councillor Ridley and Councillor, sorry, I can't see, Saha. Thank you. Okay, if there are no points of debate to be shared at this time, we can move forward with voting on Echo 360. So please proceed to do that. The motion has passed. We can now move on to our next action item, which is the motion to approve the executive reports. Can I please have a mover for this one? President Collegian and Councillor Aviliano. Are there any points of debate or questions at this time? Okay, let the record reflect that there are no points of debate or questions regarding the executive reports. Okay, in that case, you can move to Echo 360 to vote on this motion. Okay, the motion number 4 to approve the executive reports is passed. We'll now move on to our next action item, which is the motion to approve the endorsement of the 2024-2025 executive roadmap. Are there, yep. Sorry.
Just point of information, before this is moved, there's a presentation
Yeah.
for the roadmap. Just wanted to confirm.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
So we will motion to, we'll move to table this so that we can go through the presentation. Okay? Are there any objections to that motion? Okay, wonderful. Would you? Yeah, okay.
Fun. Good to go.
Yes, thank you, President Collegian. You can go ahead.
Okay, amazing. So this is something that we're really excited to present to you. I know a lot of you have read through this. I've talked to you about it a lot, but it's just really important that we're all on the same page with the roadmap, as it is our mandate for the rest of the year. I want to mention that the roadmap isn't not necessarily a formatted list of all the action items we're doing for the year. It's our guiding principles, the main things that we want to tackle, and just sort of a combination of my platform, Michelle's platform, and Mariana's platform, and how we're going to bring that to life, as a team together. So that's just something I wanted to preface. At any point, if you have questions, I know it's going to be not a long presentation, but we'll kind of move on from different things. So if it's okay with Mateen, I'm more than happy to take questions as we go. But yeah, so to start off, the roadmap is divided into 6 different, actually, can you just, next slide, sorry, 5 different of the different sections. And so the first thing is the academics. So when we're talking about academics, it's kind of all things that has to do more so with Mariana's portfolio, the Senate, different committees, the roundtables that we spoke about, with the councils, community building, which is something that's important, I think, with the student engagement role in particular. And then safety and wellness, of course, professional development, which is something that I'm really proud of to introduce to the USC. This was a huge part of my presidential platform, and it's kind of a new concept that we're bringing to the organization. I think as a student, one of the things that I always found was a blind spot at this university was that it's a big school, and a lot of times when you graduate, you can often feel like a number and that you're not really pushed in the right direction when it comes to your future. You kind of just finish your 4 years and then that's it. We want to be able to provide different opportunities that isn't so much, you're in medical school, you're in med-sci, you have to go to medical school. You're in political science, you have to go to law school. There's a lot more options out there, and that's what this really seeks to do. Also some financial stability as well. I know doing a lot of these things are super expensive, so we're going to take a look at the grants committee and provide different opportunities that way, but we'll go into that pretty soon, but that's just kind of a nutshell of what this new pillar looks like at the USC. And then, of course, you can't have the USC without student experience and student life. So we had to add that in as well. All right, so with academics, you can go one more. One of the things that I noticed as somebody who was trying to find a spot to sit on when I was studying is an increase in study spaces at campus. One of the things that we have control over is the UCC, so we're working with our productions team to figure out how we can make that a little bit better within our own spaces, but as well as just looking at empty spaces at the university and talking to administration and being like, hey, like at Panda, there's a ledge with outlets, but there's no chairs there. So can we figure out how we can just add a little extra space in those areas? Also looking into for science students, I know that there really isn't much space for them. We want to kind of improve that. So looking into different models and how we can add some science spaces into different floor plans that are coming up as the university increases its size and its buildings. So that's something important as well. Academic policy, sorry. Back, sorry. Okay. So the academic policy thing is exactly what I talked about in my update. I'm not going to go through it as much anymore, but with the accommodations policy, we're also looking at the add drop date and kind of figuring out how, one of the things for my platform was for grade deadlines. So with add drop deadlines, right now you can get your grade past the add drop deadline, which is kind of counterintuitive because you don't know your marks from first semester until you've already signed up for all your courses in second semester. So for people who want to overload, if they have to get into graduate school in their fourth year, this kind of causes a big problem. So I want to work with the Senate to do that, and Mario will be working on that with the student senators this year, which is super exciting. Obviously, as you know, a huge place in my heart as I sat there for 3 years. Okay, so for accessible education, have a couple things here. Want to make sure our club system is kind of doing the most it can to being as inclusive as possible. So when there's larger events put on, we want to give them a direct resource where they can contact accessible education to make sure they're doing everything they can. Something to include the affiliates that I think is really special, and also honing down the professional development piece that we were talking about before, is doing a collaboration with King's Disability Studies. What I would like to do is have peer support drop-ins for accessible education students. The reason for this is other universities like Queen's, Toronto, they have accessible education drop-in hours where people can just pop in and ask a question about their programs or IEPs, but Western actually doesn't have that. And I think incorporating students into this mission is a really cool way to go about that, and also include our affiliates on main campus initiatives, but again, providing that space for professional development. They can utilize their degree for this, and I think it's just a very full circle moment to support students. So, yep. And then the last thing is just for USRIs, looking into more options that provide learning and research on sustainability. So for example, in business, a big thing is supply chain management. There's a lot of waste reduction that you can do with that. So perhaps with BMOS, they could look into opening up something along those lines. So we're promoting that full circle sustainability initiative, if that makes sense. Now we're good. Okay, so community building. Go one more. Awesome. So a big thing that I've always found is just the engagement and transparency, especially with transparency. I think it's always kind of good to know what we can't do. And I think that's a really big piece, like not to give false promises and to make sure that we're being honest with council. I'm a very straightforward person. If you haven't thought so already, I definitely just like to be honest and very upfront. So that's kind of how my team has decided and also agrees on how we kind of want to lead this year. So you always hear the truth from us, and that's something that I can guarantee. And the engagement piece, I think, is important too. I think Shreya put it in a really interesting way that we put messages out, but we don't take them back. And I think that's something that she'll do a really great job at working on this year. Local partnerships. So this is obviously a very big Michelle thing with her external advocacy and things along those lines with municipal government, and working to do more pedestrian safety and things along those lines, but also looking into things like partnering with the Forest City Film Festival. I know TIFF also is interested in being involved for film students. Again, an opportunity for professional development. People can share their talents on campus, and it's a way for them to showcase what they're all about. All right, so strengthening student connections. Again, that comes back to Shreya. It's all about, it's really interesting. I told her when she was applying for this role, and we had a consultation, that I kind of see it as like the first lady of the USC. And she'll be at your meeting. She'll try to go to as much as she can. And that's something, the biggest thing. I grew up playing sports, and I always used to say the biggest piece is when people show up. That's a huge piece, and just being there for other people. And that's what we're going to try to do tenfold this year. So USA, I'm not going to talk on this more because the president's in this room, and I feel like it's a little awkward if I'm talking about her organization. But she's doing a great job. We're going to work on our provincial advocacy that way. We've already got to go to a couple of events and conferences for that, so that's been wonderful. No complaints there. And then, of course, LTC. Consistently getting feedback. I know the USC put out feedback forms for last year, but one thing we want to do is something more consistent. So you had a good experience, you had a bad experience, please let us know. And encourage your first years or students who you know to kind of give us that feedback, because without it, we don't really have as much to present to the committee, and that's the one that Daniel actually sits on, so as much information as he can get, the better. And then housing. Doing the best that we can at a federal level with CASA, or just at any governing body that we can, to talk about that. Always looking for more feedback of more streamlined ways as to how we can help students, especially international students, with finding places that are safe, affordable, and most importantly, accessible to campus. So that's community building. My favorite, professional development. So what's really cool about this is that we can actually look at external partnerships to help support professional development. So whether it be banks or different organizations who want to support financial literacy and personal finance for students. There's actually a lot out there, and we've been really lucky to encounter some partnerships already who are willing to fund a lot of these things. So all of this, for the most part, comes from my platform, and that's something that's really exciting for me. I keep saying, like, my biggest thing to want to get done is just to get things done. I'm really, really passionate about making sure that we complete all of these tasks, and they're really on their way already. So financial literacy most likely be supported by external support, which will be free for all students. The modules will be accessible to all students, and in different languages as well, which is really cool for the accessibility piece for international students who might need a little bit extra help. And then, of course, the networking piece. So Daniel touched on this already, but what I'm really excited to do this year, and again, part of my presidential platform, was to do a professional development formal. And what I understand is a lot of times, yes, there's so much business-centric things going on campus, right? And Ivy does a really great job of that. But I find that for main campus, it often can be lackluster. So in the fall, what we'd like to do is a liberal arts / business professional development formal, where we're going to invite alumni, campus partners, as well as different businesses in the London / Toronto area who can come in, and we'll have tables and booths set up, be a formal event where you can get to meet them, get their business cards, and see what they have available for after school. The reason that we're going to do this one first is usually business internships hire earlier. Then, some students, we did not forget about you, that'll be in second semester. So we'll have something along the lines with health sciences, engineering, and do something the exact same way, inviting alumni, campus partners, all that kind of stuff. And I think just to showcase that there's more to life than medical school, there's more to life than physical therapy school. Not that you can't do it, and it's a great option, of course it is, but I think there's a pressure there that definitely exists, and I'm looking at the health sci counselors, and they're laughing at me, so I hope that you're agreeing. So yeah, post-grad support. We've partnered and talked to SOGs. They are interested in providing different sessions for people to write their post-grad applications, so that's really special. At the end of the day, no matter if you're science, English, whatever, a personal statement's a personal statement, so getting help on that I think is really beneficial to anybody. And then, it's not on here, but one of the things you want to do is kind of recalibrate and figure out what's going on with our financing, our appreciation and grants committee. So to find some space to provide awards for people who are needing to do like the LSAT, the NCLEX, all these kinds of things that cost a lot of money, and we can provide some financial support for that as well. Okay. Safety and wellness. So, of course, the first one, pedestrian safety, that would be more of a Michelle thing, but one of the things that I talked about during my campaign was just better lighting around King's area. So, as an advocacy point for myself that I really want to see get better, I know the walk from King's in Old North in that area can be pretty creepy. Like, it's just very, very dark, and I'm just worried about students in that capacity. I know I've had like phone where I would walk home from that area and call my parents or call a friend just to make sure that I was on the phone with somebody because it is very dark. So working to kind of fix that up. Mental health support, so as Mari mentioned, you can book your mental health appointments online, but you have to register in person. So she has a great plan to set things up for O Week. So I think that's wonderful, and it's just that barrier that we're trying to cross over, if that makes sense. Okay, reporting options. So part of my experience as an undergrad student was being part of One Love Western, which did a lot of work with GBSV, and we really advocated for a lot of the use of anonymous reporting sites like Reese and Clario. There's a lot to kind of use, and it's very survivor-centric, so want to look into seeing if they'd be willing to partner with Western. I know they did in the past, we did with One Love, and I think it's really just a fantastic method to kind of go about that, as well as reporting for racial and religious discrimination. We kind of want to look into that. A big part of my consultations always kind of came from the fact that people report, and it's so brave to report, it really, really is, but they don't know what's happening with that information, and I think that clarity needs to come through. So working with EDI and UA and trying to figure that out was a big one for us too. Okay. Menstrual equity, Mari touched on this already, but really want to focus on those Citron machines. We doubled them last year, and they're just a lot more convenient for a lot of people. And they just make life a lot easier for everyone. So going to continue that. Our efforts are still there, and Free the Dot should prevail for the rest of the year, and we're happy to announce that. And then food insecurity. I feel like Danielle really touched on this quite a bit. So again, it got operationalized this year, which I think is really fantastic. As somebody who worked part-time throughout my undergrad career, it was really nice to have a job that I could work, 10 hours a week and make a little extra money to pay for my utilities and my groceries and things along those lines. But most importantly, that accountability piece is there. And that's free safety and wellness. Next, student life. Perfect. Okay, so the fun stuff, aka Sarah, we'll do the outdoor fitness class, which I think will be great. Again, worked at the rec center. It's a zoo there in September. You cannot lie. It is crazy. It's a great place to work, but it's very, very busy. I understand that. So one of the things you want to do is partner with campus clubs and do like Purple Yogis at UC Hill, or just like a run club or something along those lines. Also, run clubs become like really popular in Toronto this summer. I don't know if anyone has seen that. So hopefully we can kind of bring that over to Western and see how that goes. And then Frost Week. So I'm sure a lot of especially the resident softs in the room can kind of resonate with this, but Frost Week kind of comes and it goes, and I feel like I want to make it a lot more fun for people to like look forward to and kind of have elevated programming and things along those lines. So I'd like to kind of work on our programming with that and make it a little more interesting, perhaps like a little après ski thing going on, or concert, maybe even shuttles to like go downtown to go skating, like lots of things that'll just make people more excited to start their second semester, especially when the weather is yucky and And then the multicultural showcase. So this is actually the first platform point that I came up with ever. It was in the summertime after my third year. So I'm very happy about this one. I think it's moving along really great thanks to Shreya. And I think it'll be really special for a lot of people. So I think that wraps up everything. Could be wrong. Yeah, questions? Concerns? I mean, that's a good sign. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, President Collegian. There were no, are there any questions or points of debate at this time regarding the motion? Okay, you can proceed to Echo 360 to vote on this motion. The motion has passed unanimously. Are there any further points of discussion or to bring to council at this time? Are there any questions? Oh, Councillor Gleed, yes.
Do we not have an additional motion? Is there not the budget approval motion?
Yes, there is. One second.
Thank you.
Okay, so please go to the agenda to refer to motion 6. Can I please have a mover for this motion? Councillor Smith and Councillor Teo Darascu. Are there any points of debate at this time for motion 6? Yes, President Collegian.
President Collegian, I just have a point of information for this as well. So this is the first time this motion has necessarily been brought up to the USC. Typically, what happens is that the past executive makes the budget lines, and then we are just given that, and that's what we work with for the rest of the year. What Sunday and his team changed a little bit differently is it's like an allocated amount towards like the president's budget, right? And we had the autonomy to basically change that depending on what trends happened from years before and whatnot. So that way it was reflective of what actually is going to be used, so that we didn't overspend on certain budget lines or underspend, right? So that was something that is a little bit different this year compared to years past. We just wanted to reiterate that.
Thank you, President Collegian. Okay, if there are no points of debate or questions at this time, you can go to Echo 360 to vote on this motion. Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Are there any questions or comments from the university at this time? As there are no other representatives from the university, we can move past this. Are there any new orders of business to be introduced to the council floor at this time? Okay. So with that in mind, as there are no more orders of business to be brought to council, I move to terminate the meeting. Can I please have a mover, Councillor Ratenchi and Councillor Saha? This meeting concludes. Note at 1:29 p.m. on July 28th. Thank you, councillors, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Good job, guys.